disgusting.
I would say that about 70% of people have this exact reaction when they first try a traditional mate. And I was one of them. But it doesn't have to be like that. If you're planning to try yerba mate and you don't want it to be a disastrous experience, or if you already did and you don't want to throw out half a kilo of undrinkable loose leaf with $80 worth of mate accessories, I can show you techniques for preparing your first yerba mates in a way that you will enjoy them just as I do, or those 80 million people do around the world. First of all, let me say a few words about why yerba mate tastes bitter and strong for you, but sweet and tasty for me. In a nutshell, yerba mate leaves have a very complex chemical composition, with many different groups of compounds found in it, like so-called tannins, different antioxidants, caffeine, and when your brain first meets this complex foreign mixture, it will respond with a, "Hey, I don't know what this is, but it's potent, so be careful." That results in a bad taste. These molecules are all good for you though, and over time your brain links the chemistry with the positive effects and will make you feel good when you taste those very compounds. This is called an acquired taste. The same thing happens for children who first can't stand the smell of coffee, but in a few years they end up drinking it every day. Or when you first taste beer and be like, how could anyone drink a whole glass of this mess? Well, somehow they can by drinking more beer and getting used to it. But for yerba mate, isn't there a way to get yourself through this habituation without having to drink something you simply do not like? Yes, in fact, there are many. While all of them has some trade-offs, but the last one is a true game changer, so make sure to watch till the end. But before we grab our mate kit, we have to choose the right yerba, which is the herb we use in preparing yerba mate. It's not like I go and buy green tea or I go and buy mint tea. For yerba, there are tens of types to choose from, hundreds of brands with huge differences between them, so choosing the right one is crucial. We have a whole video about it, check it out if you haven't done it yet. You can find it here in the top right corner or at the end screen. But in short, if you choose any yerba that is unsmoked, coarsely cut or labeled as suave, you make a big step towards that delicious drink I promise. But not all yerba on the market is in loose leaf form. You can find teabag yerba mate. Its preparation is as simple as any filter tea, and while it can give you a hint of the taste, it will by far not give you the same spectrum of flavors due to the different preparation methods. Honestly, it just tastes like bad green tea. The other major downside is concentration. A teabag yerba mate contains about 5% of a full traditional mate by weight, so you don't really get any of the effects either. Same with mate-infused soft drinks. There are many of them, but most of them only contain a very few amount of mate, or even just aromas, and in most cases the taste is overwhelmed by other ingredients, most notably sugar. Don't get me wrong, both of these can be very good, just don't expect to acquire a taste for the real deal yerba mate by drinking soft drinks and tea bags, or at least not so efficiently. Okay, so either way we should start with the loose leaf yerba for our first mates too. But what about these flavored yerbas? There are many blends on the market, mixing different fruits, herbs, spices with the yerba in all combinations you can imagine. And these can be very good, like I drink a lot of them, and it could be easier to like first. But the majority of them only gives an additional flavor profile to the yerba mate and doesn't take away the harshness and bitterness that turns beginners off. Also, there are herbs that are often added to yerba mate that taste quite brutal, like Boldo or Polio. On the other hand, there are some really well assembled combos. I will make a video of them if you're interested. So, all in all, the problem is not solved by choosing one kind of yerba or the other. It's more about the technique you use in preparing your drink. Now I'll show you the most popular methods and my take on which one could be the best for you as a beginner. First of all, the traditional way. The whole philosophy of it is having a huge portion of yerba in your cup and drinking it over a long time, little by little, or shared in a group, filling in a bit of warm water and sipping it out each time with a bombilla, which is a metal straw that ends in a filter. Its preparation has its own art. but I'll run through it quickly now. You fill a cup or gourd with loose leaf up to 2/3, then you shade the leaves to one side, creating this way a little mountain from the yerba. You can wet it with some water to make it more sturdy. The purpose of this is when you fill your warm water into the cup, most of the leaves remain dry and only steep out with time, refill by refill. If you miss out the mountain, about 40 grams of yerba will steep out in the same time, creating an undrinkably concentrated brew. Building this mountain properly takes a lot of practice, and if you don't get it right, it just causes more bitterness. Not to mention getting the water temperature right, which differs from yerba to yerba and is also critical in achieving the right taste in your final brew. If I think about it, it's perfectly possible that the traditional mate you tried was just prepared the wrong way, and that's why you didn't like it. With that said, there are many people who are not afraid to take one for the team and make it through some bitter mates in the beginning and get to like it that way. Others acquire their taste for mate successfully by drinking traditionally prepared mate with sugar or other sweeteners to mask the harshness. I would not recommend this method for sure because the amount of sugar that you get in your body over this process is just not good for your health. All in all, for most people, a gourd full of traditional yerba mate is not the best way of starting your mate career. So, let's look at the alternative preparation methods. These techniques boast foolproof preparation methods, and they also don't require mate accessories, so you can take your time choosing the ones suitable for you as your drinking habits develop. Starting with the method I used. While having no intentions of getting used to the yerba mate taste deliberately, I just didn't have the proper gear to prepare it the traditional way. And honestly, my first traditional mate was still so terrible that if I didn't do this alternative method first, I likely would not be here. Anyway, I used a sieve with the yerba mate in it and steeped that thing in hot water. Of course, you should use a proper tea filter for this purpose, like this, or this. The key here is to get the right water temperature. Hotter water results in a stronger and more intense taste, but do not ever exceed 80 degrees Celsius, because that burns your mate and exceeds compounds that are not only bitter, but straight up disgusting that no one gets used to. If you manage that, the steeper method is a superb choice, because you not only use unprocessed and larger amount of yerba, but you can also adjust the strength of your infusion by the time steeped, the amount of yerba used, and the water temperature. An amber brown, slightly opaque liquid is the right color for experienced drinkers, so you should first experiment with lighter color, more transparent brews, and leave the steeper in for more and more time and gradually increase the concentration of your drink. This way you can see what is your liking in the moment. Another method that gained popularity nowadays is brewing mate in a French press, but I would not recommend it to beginners because you use only half a liter of water for a smaller quart full of yerba, which gives you an even more potent infusion and far less mobility than the previous tea steeper technique. But I never actually tried it, so if I'm wrong, scream in the comments. But in terms of authenticity and taste experience, nothing comes close to our final method. It is delicious even for beginners, makes you acquire mate taste in no time, and finally it is 100% traditional with centuries of history behind it. This is Tereré. Basically cold water mate. Without the need of a gourd or advanced mountain building skills, all you need to do is placing your yerba in a glass, your bombilla, and refilling it with ice cold water. On its own, it's quite plain for beginners who have not acquired mate taste yet. But here's the twist. You can refill or flavor it with anything you like. I highly recommend you to try it with moderately sweet lemonade because it doesn't overwhelm the taste of the mate, but produce an extremely delicious and refreshing blend. Or you can refill it with fruit juices like mango juice, to which the yerba will give a depth and complexity, making them addictive. You can also have tereré with herbs and spices that you add to it at home. For example, a combo of lime, mint and cardamom gives you a pure nature tasting refresh. The only downside of tereré is that there are some components which are absent from cold brews, either because they're not steeping out in cold water or they form in hot environments, so they might catch you unprepared when you first try hot mate. But if you combine tereré with tea steeper mate that you prepare stronger and stronger gradually over time, you will get used to the taste in no time. And when you first find plain water tereré delicious and an amber brown opaque hot mate enjoyable, you are 100% ready to prepare your first traditional mate. That's option A. Option B is a drink very similar to yerba mate. This traditional form is like the smoothest of yerba mates. You can truly enjoy it right from the beginning. Check this video out if you are interested. I hope I could help you with your first mate experience. If you have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments. Also give this video a thumbs up if you liked it and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. Thanks for watching and see you in a different mate.